He thinks he has many desires, unlimited desires. Krishna is infinite, and we cannot limit him by any kind of material boundaries. It's very significant. And in this age, it is the age of science and technology. Everybody, they understand the language of science. So if you go to any academic institutes or colleges, they talk in terms of physics, chemistry, biology, all these subjects. And Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj, he came to West only for this reason. He was trying so much in India actually, in fact. He was trying in Delhi area and in many areas, Allahabad, many areas. He was printing Back to Godhead books and he was distributing. But most of the Indian people are not showing so much interest what he wants to say and what he is doing. So he was thinking, these Indian people, they are so much attached to Western culture somehow. Still now, people want to come to West. This is the general trend in Indian conception. They are influenced by what Westerners are doing. So Swami Maharaj, he was thinking, if I go to West and I can make them a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing them, thank you very much. Seeing them, many Indians also will join this very important movement. Just for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was preaching, when he was doing Leela as Nimai Sundar in Navadip, because he was Grahastha, people are not taking him seriously. So he was thinking that just because I am Grahastha, they are not taking my message seriously and they are respecting so much to sannyasis. So I must take sannyas to take my message very seriously. I am giving something serious. So Mahaprabhu takes sannyas for just for this reason of distributing the message, the love that he wants to distribute, which people were not taking seriously just because of some outward reasons. So when Swami Maharaj came to America and he preached extensively, and so many Westerners, those who were hippies, and gradually they taken a lot of halwa, sweet they like so much, halwa, mahaprasadam, and sweet balls that Prabhupada used to prepare, and gradually they all become good, sincere devotees, and Prabhupada, like a father and mother, helped them and trained them, and many followers came. But one class of people were not giving so much importance to what Prabhupada wanted to say, and that class is scientists. They were not listening, they were not taking it very seriously. So Prabhupada wanted that this ego of understanding everything from mere materialistic principles must be challenged. And devotees, I don't want my devotees to be develop the world will develop a concept about my devotees as sentimentalists, only chanting japa on the street. Rather, I want them to know that my devotees are also very much knowledgeous, they know things, and they can challenge any materialistic idea on a scientific basis, not just sentimentally, but on scientific basis. So he, when my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Damodar Maharaj, he was doing Ph.D. and he met Prabhupada. Actually it was quite mystical how he met. He was doing Ph.D. and he's from Manipur, India. And he has a friend called Dr. Rao. He has a friend and they were doing PhD together, good friends. And sometime PhD, time is a little difficult. I did my PhD also, I know. Guide gives so much troubles and so much problems you have to face to get degree. So sometimes you go out, make mind a little fresh, and again you come and work. So Dr. Rao and my Guru Maharaj, they all went for a outside some visiting, and in a beach, sea beach, they see
Laguna Beach.
Huh?
Laguna
Beach. And in that beach, some Westerners, they shaved their head and they are doing kirtan and dancing. And Dr. Rao got attracted. What is this? How come Westerners can do like this? It's new for, actually now it is, almost common, people are knowing, but at that time, it was a very new thing for them. That Westerners, wearing such nicely, like a devotees, with tilak And Kanti Maharaj, they're dancing. They try to follow out of curiosity. When they followed out of curiosity, actually these devotees, they had a temple in America nearby that place, and they told, oh, please come, please come. They seen the following, please come. And they spent some time, but my Guru Maharaj has not shown so much interest, because he already comes from a Vaishnava background, and he knows in India so many sadhus, so many temples, but not properly following, not serious, so he was not showing so much interest. But Dr. Rao, he found something interesting, and he became more and more serious, and he associated with devotees. And then what has happened, he decided that after a few days he will take initiation from Swami Maharaj. So one day he told to my Guru Maharaj, every day he was, when going to temple, he was asking, Dr. Singh, his name is Dr. T.D. Singh, Dr. Singh, please come, I am going to this temple, you should join. And he was denying, no, I don't want to go. But this day he told, today if you not come with me, my friendship with you finished. I am not going to have any friendship, any relation with you. Then my Guru Maharaj was shocked. My friend for so many years, what happened to him? All of a sudden he said, if I don't go to temple, he will break all my relation. What is this? No, I will come. And while he was driving, on the way, he tells him that today I am going to get initiation from Swami Maharaj, that Prabhupada, Prabhupada is coming. Oh, then you will be saving your head? Oh, it will be my fortune to save my head. Then my Guru Maharaj was, surprised. What happened to this man? He was just a, serious Ph.D. scholar, and all of a sudden so much change happened like this. And then when they went and, Swami Maharaj was in a walk, morning walk, and he came back and he gave an initiation to Rai Ramananda Prabhu. His name became Rai Ramananda Prabhu. And then he introduced my Guru Maharaj to Swami Maharaj. Then he said that I am from Manipur, and like this I am doing PhD. Oh, Manipur. Swami Maharaj says, Manipurs are naturally Vaishnavas, Their Arjuna went there and married Chitrangada. And Chitrangada had a son called Babru Bahan, and he made all Manipuris Vaishnavas. So now you are a Manipuri, it is your duty to help them to again become Vaishnavas. And he told, you are coming here to beg dollars? You are coming here to do PhD to beg dollars? I came here to distribute some message from India. Why not you help me in doing this? Like this, Swami Maharaj asked, in his first meeting like that. And my Guru Maharaj was convinced, seeing the confidence of Swami Maharaj and his, honest request. And he associated with Swami Maharaj, and all these morning walks, you can see that Life Come From Life book came from those discussions. And Prabhupada told that first these things should be taught to them, that life comes from life. Life, scientists are saying, came from matter. But we say that the evidence is that life comes from life, and matter also comes from life. There is a famous picture that Swami Maharaj shows that I am there, that's why this nail is growing, is showing. Hair, so much hair is coming, so many materials are coming from the body because I am alive. A plant is producing so much of biomass, yet nothing from the atmosphere is disappearing. Yet life is producing all these things. So Swami Maharaj Prabhupada wanted that these two principles must be introduced to scientists, and Darwin's theory must be challenged. Darwin, says that, his warm little pond idea, that first life came from a warm pond, and that life, by following some gradual mutation and random mutation and natural selection, all biodiversity manifested. But Swami Maharaj was telling, no, all life forms, they are coming from Krishna. So how to, tell them scientifically, explain them in their language? He says, Bengali, one quote, Swami Maharaj says, Tader sil, tader noda, tader bhangi, ta dater goda. This is Swami Maharaj's quote. This means use their mortar and pestle, break the root of their teeth. That means use their language to break their misconceptions. This is what Swami Maharaj wanted. So he had, lot of discussion with, my Guru Maharaj and three main scientists, disciples he had. that is Madhava Prabhu, now Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, and Sadaputta Prabhu. These are the three main scientists under whom this, Swami Maharaj, had this Bhakti Vedanta Institute. He started a scientific wing for, spreading Krishna consciousness. But after the disappearance of Swami Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj, Puri Maharaj especially, they came to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And there was a lot of conversation between Sridhar Maharaj and some of these, scientific, disciples, scientific-minded disciples who given this service to spread Krishna consciousness scientifically, and they had a conversation, a lot of conversation with Sridhar Maharaj, and that conversation is published as Subjective Evolution of Consciousness. So basically, Srila Sridhar Maharaj wanted that this idea of life come from life and matter come from life, and this biodiversity, means appearance of all the species, can be introduced, more, philosophically. And he has, given some ideas from, various Vedantic, schools, not only, Madhava, Ramanuja, many other schools, but also from Hegel's, philosophy. So myself, I met my Guru Maharaj in a conference during my Ph.D. There was a conference on aging and dying. We are all going towards old age, we are all going towards death. So according to science, we are all chemicals. So shall we keep all these, peoples who are old, no longer useful, mentally retired per se, should we keep them alive, or we give them one injection so that our burden is finished? Because they are chemicals and we can do some chemical reactions. So there are many ways, this topic has been discussed from religious background, from philosophical background, and from scientific background. And my Guru Maharaj given, many examples in that conference about how life transcends the principle of matter. Specifically, I remember, he says about the example of bird. We have, some projectile motion. We throw a stone, then scientists can tell what angle you released, and what force you released, and what is the air friction, and where probably it will fall. With some, possibility of errors, some degree of accuracy, they can predict where the stone will fall. Or when you launch a satellite, they can predict where the satellite will go after a certain time. But if you release a bird, no scientist can predict where the bird will go after 5 seconds. Why it is so? Why life is not following the laws of science? This is the question.
Mechanics.
Yes. The laws of modern science, modern science is mostly based on principle of mechanics and chemical reactions. So why it is not following that? This is the question he raised. See, the principle of life, like for example in London we had this conference a few days back. The title was Mystics and Scientists is the broad title, but because they invited us from India, they gave a title called Science and Spirit, the Eastern and Western Perspective. This was the title. So when we discussed about all these problems that modern science facing in understanding life and matter, the question they wanted to know, what is the understanding of life, how to differentiate between life and matter. Because modern science does not say the broad distinction. We devotees say, okay, there is soul. Very simple answer we give. But modern science don't have any specific, detail about discriminating life from non-life. So by the association of Puri Maharaj, we learned this, very simple example, which is given by Kant also, and our Vedanta also says this, Immanuel Kant, that life has internal teleology. Means internal teleology means it has its own purpose. Life has its own purpose. Means if you release a bird can decide where to go, no law can decide. Every individual entity, if you drop a bacterium in a fluid column, the bacterium will not follow the Brownian motion. If you drop a dead particle, it will follow a Brownian motion. But if you drop a bacteria It will follow its own, inner, driven motion. It has its own purpose, where to go, what to do. Nothing, no law can decide it. But matter, the purpose is imposed from outside. For example, a robot, a computer robot, you can make him run with a man in a 100-meter race, and robot can win, and it can raise its arm also, but it will not experience happiness or satisfaction because it don't have its own purpose. Designer has the purpose. Designer will feel happy. My robot win the race, but robot itself don't have any purpose. So it is very, very significant that life has a purpose. It has its own purpose. Purpose is not imposed, and that purpose means it has a freedom. Srila Sridhar Maharaj says the difference between life and matter is that it has freedom. Without freedom, it will be like matter. So this freedom is very, very significant, and why Lord has given the freedom to the life is a very important question that many of in our devotees also discuss this. Why freedom is so significant? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj very interestingly discussed about two philosophy in Tamil Nadu. There is Sri Vaishnavas, and there are two types of logic they follow from Ramanuja line. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj very beautifully explains these two philosophy, and that is about Marjara Nyaya and Markata Nyaya. Marjara Nyaya means cat logic, and Markata means the monkey logic. So in the case of cat, the child does not have to do anything because mother will take care of everything. Just holds the neck, and wherever mother wants to go, simply going without any efforts from the child. But in the case of monkey, we see in Vrindavan so many monkeys, and then what the monkey, the cub has to do, it has to hold to the mother. It has to hold. And wherever mother is going, it is going, but that minute, that freedom it has, that it has to hold. Otherwise, it will not go with the mother. So it has to hold. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, our philosophy is of the monkey philosophy, not cat philosophy. So we follow, jivas have freedom, and that whatever minute freedom we have, that must be utilized to put some efforts to satisfy Lord, and that willingness to follow the will of Lord is very, very significant. Otherwise, the cultivation of the highest love is impossible without freedom. You cannot impose the love by mechanical means, like a robot. Robot may, show a face of happiness, but that happiness is not experienced. It's a mechanical imitation. So, freedom is very, very significant for, living, nature. Life has three things. Srila Govinda Maharaj says, thinking, feeling and willing. Life means three things, always. Thinking, feeling and willing. And this thinking, which is very much essential for science, is a mystic experience for scientific theories. They don't know scientist. Means science is not yet grasped scientist. Who is the cause of all this science? Einstein's law, Charles' law, Boyle's law, all these laws are not written in sky. These are all coming from the thinking of the scientist. And this thinking is very, very significant. And that thinking cannot be understood by mere, yes.
You mentioned, I wanted to go back a little bit, you mentioned about freedom.
Yes.
And I was thinking that at some point that direct perception of divinity, it takes your freedom away, because they say that beauty enslaves.
Yes.
So, isn't it like we have certain freedom until we give it up completely?
No, actually it is not like that. Actually this is the most of the misconceptions come from this idea that our freedom is eliminated. It is not like that. Actually, jivas, by their own spiritual development, they become first, like, see, we have a material consciousness. At present, we have a material consciousness. We are conscious of things, but we are not conscious of what is our own self. You see, we are conscious of everything else, but we are not conscious of our own self. So, going from plane of material consciousness to self-consciousness is a big step first. I mean, like Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, first teaching of Krishna to Arjuna is that you are not this body, you are soul. This is the first significant development in Jiva's progress. So, when the Jiva understands, I am an eternal soul, this is a first step of spiritual advancement. But that is not enough. Self-consciousness is not enough. Self needs an identity. This is very, very significant. Self cannot have its own identity by just having understanding I am eternal soul. So there comes the role of God. Until how the people in this world get their identity. They get from their parents. So in even Vedanta Sutra says, Janmadasyata. In Bhagavatam also begins with that. That you have to trace back to origin to know your identity. From where everything originated. And then, if you know what is the origin, then you have to know what's your relationship with that. So, the freedom, comes at that, point that now either you want to be busy with all this, immediate sense perception that you have, that you see the world without having any serious thought about what you are experiencing, what is the source of those experiences. Or you go dive deep into reality. Srila Maharaj says, you go into inner realm, and you see what type of the world that we all belongs to, and why we are experiencing something which is not seems to be our home. What is the difficulty? And then eliminating the exploiting tendencies. There, it is not imposed. You cannot force a jiva to eliminate exploiting tendency. Rather, it is when you get some taste in the life of dedication, then naturally your exploiting tendency can overcome. So freedom is very, very essential to accept either material life or spiritual life. If freedom is eliminated, it can be kind of liberation mentality. You eliminating your own existence, which is not encouraged by our acharyas. And Srila Maharaj tells very, very significant that we don't suppress the freedom of the living entity. Rather, we help them recognize what is the best utilization of their free will. Like you are a citizen of this country, UK. So UK government has given you some freedom. But if you misutilize the freedom, then your freedom is checked. You are in jail.
The example, when a person is in love,
yes,
he every expression of himself is kind of regulated,
yes,
because he's in love. So
yes,
at the same time he's free,
yes,
but at the same time he's enslaved.
Yes, that definitely. And that slavery also comes because he has freedom to exercise. Otherwise, that love will not manifest. Like a machine. Machine cannot love others. It has no freedom, so it cannot express either love or hatred. It cannot express. To express some feeling, you need, that living element, and that comes from, freedom. Otherwise, the expression of life is missing there. Krishna don't want to make robots, He has given us full, freedom to us. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sateva bhajamyaham. He says that the way you surrender to me, I will also reciprocate accordingly. He don't say that you completely eliminate your freedom. No, you use your freedom. Either he wants to come to me or go away from me. It is up to you. He will not eliminate any moment. Neither Lord nor his devotees says that you should completely eliminate your freedom. And our gurus are not making us robots. They want us, a dynamic being. It's a dynamic. It's not a static thing. It's dynamic.
It's interesting idea that whenever the person is listening to the music,
yes,
he's dancing, right?
Yes.
And it seems like he's free to dance any way he wants. But still, the music is guiding him to dance in a certain way.
Yes.
So he has freedom, but then the music guides him
Yes, certainly, definitely. It is actually sometimes when you are, driven by sense, what you can say, attraction. In this world, generally things are done by, sense attraction. There is an example, if you see our Gaudiya temples, if you go, there is a, person playing flute and one deer is being captured, you see. So deer wants to, listen some beautiful music, and in that attraction, it comes and, captured in a net. The same way, in this material world, people are enslaved because they are so much driven by sensual way of, knowing or enjoying things. But the same thing can be channelized and spiritualized when, like in our Sampradaya, 3 deities are very, very important. Madan Mohan, Govind and Gopinath. Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojan. These 3 concepts are very, very significant. See, Madan Mohan, why it is Sambandha? Why it is in a connection? Because he attracts. Madan Mohan means he attracts. We have some attraction in this material world, but he gives something higher than the attraction of this material world. Even the cupids, millions and millions of cupids are attracted. So that attraction, when it comes to living entities, when it is only getting metal attachment, it's okay. But when it gets something higher, it realizes, oh, some higher attraction is there, and it goes towards that. And there comes the connection, Sambandha. Sambandha Gyan means, our relationship, our connection. It's a theoretical thing. Sambandha, Jivero Swarup Hoy, Krishna Nityadas. Jiva is the eternal servant of Krishna. It is told by, Gurudev, beginning. But until and unless you are established in eternal servant, these are all theoretical. It's just like, my Guru Maharaj used to say many examples about this to scientists. You can read a book on brain research, but reading that book, can you become a brain surgeon? Just by reading many, many books, you cannot. You have to get some practical experience of that to become an expert surgeon. So, Sambandha, then Abhidaya comes, means Govinda comes. Govinda means who is giving pleasure to cows, who is engaging them, so many devotees in service. So, Sambandha Acharya is Rupa Goswami, the Abhidaya Acharya. Sambandha Acharya is Sanatana Goswami. So, this, training in the service, how we are eternal servant of Krishna, and how we have to establish in that, who practically engages us, that is Siksha. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, our Sampradaya is Rupanuga Sampradaya, the middle platform, where we are getting the training to become eternal servants of Krishna. Just saying you are eternal servant of Krishna is not. We have not yet realized it. We have not yet established in that. So through Govindas, that Siksha representation, the Acharya who comes in that conception, we are established in the service, platform. And then the final thing, why we are doing Prayojan, Gopinath, for releasement. So these are the, progress. This is a dynamic process. It is not something, artificially imitated. It's a very dynamic process. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, discusses this. And, this is the way, Kaviraj Goswami is also praying in Chaitanya Charitamrita. These 3 deities and what are their conceptions and how one can establish in this. This is, very, very beautiful. And in all the stages, never freedom is eliminated. Freedom is always there. Obviously, in the material plane, the sensual perceptions are dominated. And, in the developing stage, what is more and more, dominating is that we are attached to the sadhu. And it's not, this process is not independent of living agent. It's always under, some devotee who has already cultivated that love. And then a final thing is the releasement. But no devotee thinks that he already crossed the stage of, progress, anartha nivrutti. So devotees always, a genuine devotee always thinks, I am fallen, I am most fallen. Our all acharyas in the song that we are singing, Narottam Das Thakur, he's saying, Mosama Patita Prabhu na paiveya. I am the most fallen soul, you cannot find more fallen than me. This is the general feeling of a devotee. A devotee never thinks that he crossed the plane of anartha nivrutti. He always thinks, I need help, I need guidance. And all our acharyas told that we are eternal students. That's why our mutt's name, Srila Sridhar Maharaj given, Krishna Anusilana Sangha. So we are all students of Anusilan, means we are all following Anusilan, we are learning. So we are all students. So maybe having little, more knowledge or less knowledge, but we are the students in the plane of eternal, that loving, world, practicing the plane of dedication. So that kind of conception is Rupa Goswami's conception. The middle platform, Srila Siddhar Maharaj says. So I think most of the scientists these days they are understanding slowly and gradually that we need the importance of understanding consciousness as an important principle which distinguishes life from non-life. Consciousness. Previously in Western world, after following Rene Descartes, there were things that only humans are conscious and all other non-human animals, they are not conscious. In Cambridge University, I think 2011 or 12, there was a big conference being organized, that is Francis Crick Memorial Conference, first Francis Crick Memorial Conference, and in that conference Stephen Hawking came and many big biologists came and they signed a declaration which you can find Cambridge Declaration. And what they signed in that human to octopus, all these non-living entities, they are also conscious. You see, so many years of research helped them to recognize this much, that no, non-human animals are also conscious. And science is changing, slowly and gradually becoming more spiritual because of the so many devotees are preaching in this world. It's not one.
But if we take the viewpoint of the scientists, that
Yes.
consciousness comes from matter, it would mean that such thing as morality is just a side effect of some chemical reaction, and so they wouldn't be necessarily following morality because it's something about them. For a materialistic person, morality is just a side effect of a culture.
Yes.
And then, if they see themselves as the top of the evolution, they establish the law and they can break the law, right?
Yes.
So unless they accept the idea that there is something beyond matter and even beyond spirit,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't be trying to follow morality.
Yeah, actually, scientists may say that there is nothing like free will or freedom, because the very idea of science, the scientific, modern scientific, outlook is challenged by that. Why science is created? The very idea of science is to know the secret of nature and to dominate over nature. If you see something freedom, then no law, no equation can help in understanding that. So scientists tried their best to eliminate any question of freedom or concepts related to that. But we know that more and more evidence forced them to accept. For example, cell biology. I can give you some example. In cell biology, James Shapiro is a very well-known biologist from University of Chicago. And he worked under Barbara McClintock. She got a Nobel Prize for discovering jumping genes. Shapiro says that this two-stage proofreading process in cell, when the DNA is replicated and one new DNA is coming from the old DNA, so cell proofreads, like you do a book, you do proofreading, make sure that everything is correct. So cell is checking whether DNA is constructed correctly. So there is two-stage checking in that. If there is some error, process stops and it corrects it. And the accuracy of this process is, there is possibility of one error in 10 to the power 9 cases. That means almost no error. So from this, he says that cell has a mind. I mean, chemicals don't check whether reaction is going on right or wrong. But here, we see that there is something which is checking. And even in development, like our body, in the mother's womb, when our body develops, where the eye will form and when it will form is very, very significant. But a chemical reaction will never think like that, which location and which time. But it is life for which space and time are so significant in its all the processes. So scientists, could recognize, the possibility of, understanding life from the point of view of consciousness, freedom. All these new concepts are coming up in modern science, and it is coming up in biology. And also there are scientists in quantum mechanics I know, some of them are talking about freedom for particles also. They have some kind of free will. They say, it's still a vague idea, not yet well developed, but they are talking about these terms, but they don't have any guidance to really develop a concrete idea. So here our philosophy Vedanta can contribute.
Is it the capacity to understand some spiritual things and the capacity to appreciate them is purely based on agyata-sukriti, so accumulated merits which would allow a person to get some firm understanding of certain spiritual topics. But then if I would share with a person with a scientific viewpoint,
Yes.
some conclusion based on empirical experience, would it push him closer towards the realization of divinity? I mean, like if the scientist is unconsciously engaged in the service of the Lord and the devotees, then he can get some blessing to understand certain things.
Yeah.
But even if I would find so many proofs that the God exists, if he wouldn't have enough agyata-sukriti, it would all be just...
Let me tell you, knowledge, gaining knowledge endlessly, any kind of knowledge like that. For example, devotees are gaining so much of knowledge from the scriptures. They keep on reading those books and they're trying to tell others about those books, but they don't take it to inside and understand what is the real purpose of those all teachings. If they don't know it, then it will be leading to some kind of problem. Even to scientists also. Veda, what is the meaning of name Veda? Veda means knowledge. So only Vedas is not going to help you or anybody. So that's why Vedanta is there. Conclusion of all this knowledge. So there comes why these all knowledges that people are gaining. What is the purpose? See there. You can see inherently everybody wants some fulfilling aspect. Whether somebody doing arts or philosophy or anything, they want some fulfillment actually. So the type of individuals understanding that we find in this world. Suppose in a classroom there are people who can easily catch things, some are not able to catch things. Definitely that has to do with some past activities, some karma, all these things. But to come to spiritual understanding of things, a clear understanding of spiritual concepts, one need some kind of service relation, either present life or past life. Something must be there which is related to connection. And that's why it is told Brahmanda Brahmite Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev. That Bhagya word is used. The Bhagya means the fortune comes from God, Bhagavan. From Bhagavan word, the Bhagya comes. So, by knowingly, unknowingly, living entity may do something, and it may come in touch with some knowledge. See, for scientists, for example, to know that there is God, to accept that there is God, is a big progress from the claim that there is no God. Jesus Christ came in West to highly atheistic society to preach this much, that there is God and we must love Him. This is what He is preaching. Jesus Christ is the love of Godhead. But Jesus Christ not given any detail about what God does, what is His pastime. So many details you will not find in Bible. But this is a very, very significant progress that when people were thinking there is no God, but there is God and we must love Him. And this is very, very significant. Whether you are doing arts, whether you are doing philosophy, Bhagavatam says the learned circle have concluded that whatever your good qualities you have, the ultimate purpose of those good qualities, whether it is science, whether it is philosophy, whether it is poetic skills or scholarly activities, whatever you have, it must be used to glorify Lord. It must be used to glorify Lord. Sankirtan means glorification. So if science is used to glorify Lord, then it is scientific Sankirtan. Lord can be glorified. Arjuna just simply fighting, and with that fighting he is glorifying Lord actually. Valmiki was a poet, And he was just, with that poetic skills, he glorified Lord. Vyasadeva was a scholar, and that, scholarly power he used to glorify Lord. And they become immortal. Whoever use his all energy to glorify Lord, how great he is and how great his devotees are and how great is his world, all these things when one engages, then they become immortal, means they no longer. Nitayir charana satya, tahara sevaka nitya. Means Nitai's feet means the servants of Lord. They are eternal. And that service connection can come to different individuals little differently. It may be possible, some are doing puja, temple puja, some are doing collection, and some are going out and preaching, and so many ways, so many services are done. Some are just sitting as a guard, near the door of Gurudev. So many varieties of services we see, and all these services must be honored and respected. And this is what is very, very significant. Mahaprabhu's conception is that Janadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahishna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. Govind Maharaj says, one devotee asked him, how we know that, who is a devotee, who is a Vaishnava? Then Srila Govind Maharaj says, we don't have power to know who is a devotee, who is a Vaishnava. So we respect everybody. Srila Govind Maharaj says, we respect everybody. It's very, very significant, statement that, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says. So we don't know what is contribution of the scientists or what the contribution of a minister. We don't know. Like, for example, you are using this wonderful camera and laptop. It is invented by some scientist. The room you are sitting in, these are all things are discovered by scientists, which are being used for the service of the Lord. Knowingly, unknowingly, they have done this service for Lord. We cannot ignore that. So, any activity in this world, like a tree is standing in the winter or in the sun, standing like this. But a devotee is going and sitting below that tree, it is getting sukruti. So we have to see, everything in relation to service of the Lord. Matter means when we see things apart from Lord. It's a symbol of undeveloped consciousness. So when we develop a vision, like Rupa Goswami explains, 3 levels of devotees. They call it Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. Kanishta means who sees Lord only in deities. Lord is there in the deity. He just see there. But Madhyama, he sees deity, Lord is there in the deity and also in devotees. He sees both the places. But Uttama, even in non-devotees. He sees Lord even non-devotees. So everywhere he can see Lord. So it depends on the developments of vision, what we are experiencing, what we are seeing. It all depends on, what kind of practice or what kind of concept we are developing. See, we can study so many books, so many literature. But that mere study or mere external repetitions, like Bhagavatam also says, one can give n number times of pravachans of scriptures, and one can do so many years of tapasya. Yet until the Lord gives sanction to choose him as his own, we not get it. That means I may want to become devotee, but my freedom is not enough. My desire is not enough. My will is not enough. Lord has to sanction. Man proposes, God disposes. Jiva asamatra kare, toba ichha phale. This is what our Acharya says. Jivas can only desire. And means lolyo, they call it. Nityananda Prabhu has opened a market, Nam Hatta. But what is the price that he is giving things? That lolyo means some kind of greediness. I want it. Hankering. That I want it. So this type of freedom is necessary. I want to serve. I am willing. I not want to protest against the plan of the Lord. I am willing to follow your will. Like the baby monkey is catching the mother. So like this, it is possible. Freedom is necessary. We don't have to eliminate and become robotic way of working things. Not necessary. It's a very, very dynamic thing, and we are exchanging with a living, reality, not a dead reality. It's not like people are sitting before computers, and the computers don't have personality. They don't have freedom, and people are developing some psychological problems by sitting a long time. It says, modern science says, certain length of hours. If you sit more than that, you may get some problems, difficulties. So why? Because it's not having personality. You cannot relate it in a personal way, but with people you can relate in a personal way. So this personal conception is very, very significant in Mahaprabhu's philosophy. Absolute is person, a supreme person. And all his devotees, they are all also individuals. They have also personality. So this is very, very significant. And there are different types of devotees, not in a single type of devotee. There are varieties in Mahaprabhu's. Pastime you see, Advaita Acharya is one type of devotee, and Nityananda Prabhu is another type of devotee, and they are fighting actually. You see. And what Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, that if you take any side of these two personalities, then you will fall down. You see, there are dynamic exchanges going on there. So from our material calculation, material principles, we cannot understand that. That means the experience of material world is not going to help us understanding the spiritual principle. Something higher has to come to give us that understanding. And that higher connection comes when we are willing to follow the plan of the higher world. Like that means we are catching the monkey, like baby monkey is catching the mother, the monkey logic we have to follow. Is that okay?
So, how would you assess the success of this preaching from what happened at the conference the weekend? How is that connected? What did we actually announce? Like this, did we actually achieve anything, or did we? What's?
Well, actually, what we felt in the conference, there are many of them are psychologists and medical doctors in London in an event. So they were so much interested to understand that individuals spiritual experiences, and they were insisting that one should speak about what kind of spiritual experiences that individuals have, and psychologists generally interact with people in that way. That is their tendency. But what I found is very, very interesting in London. They are so respectful to hear, and they want to very patiently hear and comment also respectfully. And this exchange is so constructive. They want to know things. Like for example, in the morning they have a meditation session, and they asked us to have a mantra meditation, and we had a Sankirtan in the morning with them. And many of them, they given their contacts and addresses, and they invited us, some of them. We actually went today to one scientist, Dr. Shakuntala Punjani, who came all the way from Delhi University to attend this event from Delhi. And she has a daughter here who works for King's Palace.
She works in Buckingham Palace.
And she got an invitation to attend some, this marriage or something like that?
Pardon?
King's
Prince Harry.
Prince Harry gets.
So
she's invited
there, and we went today there, and we had a nice, Ekadasi, Sankirtan. And she invited some of her, friends. One from I think Muslim tradition, Hakim, and another Peter, and he works with interreligious things. And we had a very nice, exchange. And Dr. Walton also inviting us to visit their places, and some of them wants to have some more engagement in this direction, because they know that material science, the rigid stance is not helping them. So they want some help from our Indian philosophy.
Actually, many of them have their own experiences.
Yes.
Like that lady.
Yes.
She's always saying something.
Yes.
So and then that Jewish person.
Yes.
He was saying also many things.
Yes.
So they're interested, and they say we want to be broad-hearted, not one compartmentalized.
Yes. Actually, academic people they are open to learn things, and actually our Bhagavatam also says in the sloka that Sumedasa, the highest theistic intelligence. He does not say that your intelligence is gone when you come to Mahaprabhu. And Sumedas means the highest theistic intelligence, one who wants to relate to God always. And in Sridhar Maharaj, once one devotee asked whether Bhakti Yoga is higher or Buddhi Yoga is higher. And what Sridhar Maharaj story is surprising. He told Buddhi Yoga is higher than Bhakti Yoga. And why he told like that? This is very, very important. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says in his Bhagavad Gita commentary that entire Bhagavad Gita talks about only Buddhi Yoga. Means Lord will give us that intelligence by which we can satisfy Him, we can please Him. We can do so many things that we have preconceived, in this world, and we may be going against Lord's, real interest. Until and unless that, higher, intelligence comes to us by His grace, then it is not possible. For example, in our traditions, the role of Guru is so important. You see, Jai, Guru Gauranga, Gandharva, Giridhari Jiv ki Jai. The role of Guru is so important because through Guru we can know how to relate to God. That's why, we are very fortunate that, after, what I can say, all the, difficulties in material world, we, come to some real connection through this, parampara, Guru parampara. বহু কষ্ট পাইয়াছি স্বতন্ত্র জীবনে সব দুঃখ দূরে গেল ওপদ বরণে. I got lot of difficulties in independent life, but all my difficulties gone by surrendering to Guru. So Guru is a person. He has a, what you can say, personal, relation with the individuals. So in other philosophy like, Quran, they are fighting with each other. One person reads the same Quran in one way, another person reads the Quran in other way, and they are fighting which is correct, and they are killing each other based on differences in the opinion. But in our tradition, it is told when there is such confusion is there, Bhagavatam says, Mahajana Janagata Sapantha. That means the great personalities, the great devotees, we have to go to them and solve our issues. If we have any difficulties like that, we have to approach them. We should not fight with misconceptions ourselves. We have to go and inquire from a great personalities. Like we have some good fortune that Srila Govinda Maharaj given us some direction through Om Vishnu Srila Bhakti Acharya Maharaj. So we have some person to relate to things in great difficulties and troubles. And we can ask, we can get some help, and otherwise we have to depend on our own abilities. So I feel our what you can say, Indian tradition has a very great help because it gives a connection to a agent. But I don't see such thing in Christian or other traditions, which is a significant difference. And Mahaprabhu's line, when we chant even Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what it says, before that, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi, Sri Gaur Bhakta Bindu. So devotee is very, very important. All devotees of Lord, I must bow down, and by association of devotees, I can also get some energy to do serve them. Seeing devotees, I can get some inspiration that how they are dedicating their life. I am hearing one Didi, you told no Didi, that she is going out and doing collection, taking the car, Lavanya Didi. I don't know, forgive me, many devotees here in London, but when I am hearing their service, I pray, these devotees are doing so much nice service. When I can also do some service, and I feel like that. I seen so neat and clean, this temple is maintained so nicely, and so much care has been taken. This gives so much happiness when I see, I get some real inspiration. How they are doing so much, but I cannot able to do. I am also praying that how I can also do. So devotees are so important to us. We get so much what I can say, inspiration to do things to serve Lord with their association. So I am very much thankful and happy to have this opportunity to associate with all of you and spend some time. So we'll end, I think, here we are getting...
Yeah, we're very happy to have you here too.
Yes.
The association. Maybe tomorrow, Muni Maharaj can give a class.
Sandhara is very good. I am very poor at classes.
What Visakha has to say? What we have not heard how is things are going on. She's doing a lot of preaching. In India she was very unhappy. Sometime she told, this difficulty and that. Then I told her, okay, you go out and do preaching. If you like, that will be nice. And I seen that surprisingly she become such a big preacher. Preaching all over the world. And so much enthusiastic in preaching.
Yeah, wonderful.
She told that she went to Russia and Ukraine and also to Mexico, all the places. So nice actually. She was doing, I remember she was, cleaning toilets in Navadip, and she used to carry, this all, dust and these all polythenes all the way to station and putting in some, dustbin, very good dustbin, no? Used to put. So much caring, I'm surprised. Whenever devotees are coming, she makes sure that rooms are all ready and everything. I was, thinking she was doing so much service there. That also gives, some inspiration to remember, what, devotees are doing. Mahamantra also we are missing. He was doing so much service there, playing mridanga, designing books, so many things, But somehow that team is missing, at present in India. Acharya Maharaj has, some help, but I think more devotees are needed, then, more books can be published and more can be distributed, and you can all preach more in India. Indian people really like, Westerners, If they say something, they may not like to hear more from Indians, but if Westerners say something, they like to hear. I invited Visakha Didi and Mahajogi Maharaj once to one college, you remember? We went in Bhubaneswar, and we had a very nice, program there. And they were very happy. They were always saying, oh, those devotees came, when they are coming back again. They remember them. There is a professor called Kapileshwar Mishra. So, hope you all can inspire and bring, more devotees, Western devotees to India, and, and we can do some more, service in India. And also here also, I am praying more expansion will happen, and more devotees will come, more program will happen, and, Saraswati Didi also likes to preach, more. She was, telling about, Sankirtan, more preaching activities. So, by grace of Guru and Gauranga, something will come. We have to have faith and, hope. Jai Gurudev. Jai Shambhat Paramahansa Parivraj Raja Jagat Goswami Bhakti Nimala Acharya Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Samast Guru Varga ki jai. Jai Guru Premanande. Shall we sing Hari Haraya?
Yes.
Hari Haraye Namo Krishna Jadavaye Namo